Hi, I'm Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation. Welcome to our channel. If you're here for the first time, a special welcome to you. This topic that we're going to deal with today is really, I'm going to take it apart. You know, what we do at the Marriage Foundation, it's the only thing that we do, is we heal marriages. I made a discovery over 22 years ago. I used to be a divorce mediator, and we have just been thousands and thousands a year, and hopefully we're going to save your marriage too. I've always regretted my marriage. Should I leave? That's the question. I'm going to repeat it. I've always regretted my marriage. Should I leave? Now, I want you to stay with me because it sometimes takes a few minutes to grasp the entirety of this particular topic. It's deep and it's broad, and we don't have the education that would normally fill in the gaps. So I'm going to take you through this step by step. So I've always regretted my marriage. Always is a big word. The day you got married, you didn't regret your marriage, and if you did, you wouldn't be here now. During the dating and courting, you didn't regret saying yes to getting married. And this is for both men and women. But soon after, you fell into the number one trap. And if you want to find the article called The 3 Killers of Marriage, it'll explain more about that. But the number one killer, and I saw this when I was a divorce mediator, I call it overfamiliarity. Now, we don't do things like Western psychologists. I'm not a Western psychologist. Many of our counselors are, but they left that realm, I call it a realm, to come to what we do, which is expose marriage in its truth. So you found your soulmate. Man or woman, doesn't matter, you found your soulmate. And you decided to spend the rest of your life with them. And that was a good thing. You loved them, you liked them, you appreciated them, and you were overwhelmed with love. Now, love is something that we don't understand, so it's important to understand. You fell in love. It was not infatuation. That's emotional. This was love. It was here. It was centered in the heart, and it was overwhelming. And you may have felt things like, I can't live without this person. And you wanted to be with them. And guess what? Even when you met them, they had flaws. And you saw those flaws, but you realized that the love was so powerful. I don't believe in mistakes. I don't believe in coincidence. I think that we meet the right people at the right time for the right reason, and we don't always know what that reason is. Those of us who are really into trying to understand life and find God, oftentimes this is a normal way of approaching life. And we say, okay, God, what do I have to learn here? And it's not always easy. So even putting that aside, you appreciated them for who they were. Overfamiliarity means you get used to this feeling and you start seeing their flaws. And worse, you start treating them like you would your brother or your sister. With overfamiliarity, you take them for granted. You stop looking at all the positives about them, and you start focusing in on those things that bug you. And those things that bug you are not the same things that would bug me. Isn't it true? And I think it's a setup. It's a setup for growth. Well, what are you supposed to do with that? You're supposed to suffer through it? No. So, wasn't that funny how I did that? I sometimes laugh at my own mannerisms. So what happened was, when my first couple asked me to help them save their marriage, I dove into marriage. Why do we get married in the first place? I didn't know that question right away. That was a question that I came to so I could find a starting point. We get married for 3 reasons. 1, to be happy. I mean, come on. Isn't that why? 2 is actually number 1, but we are self-centered in a way, you might say. We want to experience unconditional love. Not just, I love this car, I love this dress, I love how they treat me, I love going on vacation here. No, I'm talking about the real deal love. That love that is here, not an emotion. This is a big mistake. In Western psychology, they follow the rules and guides of Freud, and he describes emotions in a particular way, and they talk about honoring emotions. You know what honoring emotions really is? I'm getting off to the side a little, but it is important. Honoring emotions is honoring a pop-up in your screen when you're going through your computer, when you're on one of your social media accounts. It's just a pop-up. It's an emotion. Your mind is a machine you possess. You are not your mind. You're not. You don't have a soul. You are the soul. You have a mind. You also have a body. We don't learn any of this stuff. And this is why it's all befuddling. So here you are, you're in a situation, you say, I've regretted my marriage the whole time. Should I leave? I've always regretted my marriage. No, you shouldn't leave. You should start seeing your marriage in a different light. You should see it as being in a space that I call the sacred space of marriage, but you could see it as currently your cell. Your soulmate has turned into your cellmate. You got to get along with them. Just not for any rule, well, you have to, but because there's a lot for you to learn. What do you want to learn? Well, you want to learn about your own flaws. You already know all of theirs, but you never look at your own. More importantly, you don't look past your flaws or their flaws with your heart. And that's the primary goal of life, is to learn how to love unconditionally. That's the primary goal in marriage. It doesn't come naturally because we have no education around it. But that's what it's all about. Can you imagine anything better than unconditional love? There is nothing better. You talk to any dying multimillionaire or nowadays billionaire and they'll tell you, I blew my life, I worked so hard for money, I never had a close family and all this. What they really mean is they've never felt love. They had the same opportunity that you have, because the material life is nothing compared to the marital spiritual life. Marriage is a spiritual entity. It is, because it's all about love and happiness. And those are two, by definition, spiritual things. So should you leave? No. Should you stick it out and suffer? No. What you should be doing is you should be changing who you are in terms of your own relationship, not to them. They're fine. They're fine. They're good people. You know that. But in terms of your relationship with your own mind, you need to start controlling your mind. This is one of the things I discovered. In our courses that we have, both for men and for women, I start out a little differently for each, but then I get right into, you must learn how to master your mind. You have to, because otherwise you're never going to feel the natural joy of who you are, much less experience it in marriage. If you leave. Now look, I'm not talking about if you ended up marrying some mobster or something, or a pedophile. That's not what I'm talking about here. So please don't hit me with extremes. I'm talking about you have a marriage, you've never been happy in it. I'm going to say you've never really been a happy person anyway. And so naturally your marriage isn't going to be happy. You need to take that as the first step. Simultaneously, what we teach in the courses is you need to understand marriage. You need to understand marital communication. You need to understand what works and what doesn't work, and from your own point of view. If you're a man, from a man's point of view. Men tend to have a greater problem with expressing anger, where women's anger eats them up inside. Both of which you need to be able to get rid of anger. You didn't even know you could. In our world, they talk about anger management. You don't want to manage anger because right now it's managing you. Kick it out. You have the right to own your space. That doesn't mean setting boundaries with your spouse. That means setting boundaries with emotions, with anger, with intrusions that are not beautiful, not holy. You have free will. You can do all of this. Don't leave your marriage because it's perfect. God gave it to you. It's a gift. Your situation is a setup for you to learn, to grow, to evolve. Yeah, evolution, but not evolution like they talk about from a scientific point of view. Evolution from a deep spiritually scientific point of view. Whereas human beings, we learn how to evolve into what we are. Souls who have a body, who have a mind, but we are, in essence, pure joy. Yeah, that's your essence. And your marriage can and should be pure joy, pure harmony, pure love. That's what it's all about. Now you visit our website, we've got a lot of offerings. You subscribe to this channel, you're going to learn a lot about marriage. You leave a like, and I'm going to say thank you. Most importantly, get the message. Don't expect the world to change for you. Learn to be who you actually are, because you're an amazing human being. You just haven't learned. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. And oh, by the way, if you want to be a TMF marriage counselor, we have a course for you. Go find it on the website. God bless you. Visit again. Take care. Take care.